Climate change through extreme weather events such as floods, desertification and rising sea levels causes costly damage to countries. Scientists say the intensity of these natural disasters is being caused by the rise in greenhouse gas emissions, mostly from rich industrialized countries. Developing countries, often the most affected, argue that they should receive compensation. The issue of these payments, known as loss and damage, is one of the big topics of discussion here at Sharm el-Sheikh. This year, developing countries are united in demanding that a loss and damage fund be established.
Our continent will need a predictable, appropriate, and at-scale funding stream and technological support. This must support our right to development, international equity and transmissions that are just and inclusive.
Countries are expected to show how they are planning to implement the 2021 Glasgow Pact Core to review their climate plans and create a work program related to mitigation, which refers to efforts to reduce or prevent the emission of greenhouse gases. They will also need to show commitment to at least double finance for adaptation as promised in Glasgow. But delegates say the elephant that never leaves the negotiation room is the climate finance. High-income countries have yet to meet their 2009 pledge to deliver $100 billion a year in climate finance. Only $80 billion per year was delivered in 2019. The talks will address boosting that annual goal upward from $100 billion from 2025.
And finally, what we have realized is that there's a disconnect between those who are demanding climate finance and those who are supplying climate finance. On the demand side, all countries will tell you, subnationals will tell you that they have projects and the projects are ready. The suppliers of finance will tell you the pipeline is not bankable, the pipeline is not fundable. So we'll be working on having sort of a market maker platform, having a project preparation facility, working to make sure that we can make the programs and projects fundable and bankable for different kinds of investments, for different kinds of financial instruments, so that you really have that matching and you have trillions flowing.
The war in Ukraine has created a confusing situation here at the COP. We have seen developed countries scale back on their climate goals since the war started. The backsliding by major economies on their promises to shift from fossil fuels has led some nations, especially in Africa, to call for a formal recognition that they should be allowed to develop their fossil fuel reserves.
So there's this commitment that has to be there. We have to see that commitment from the developed world, even from us, because I mean, we as a developing world, we own the biodiversity. Let me say, we are protecting it for the globe because it is with us, and we have to see that the developed world are also committed to it. Not when it suits them, they dance to it. When it doesn't suit them, they don't do what they are supposed to do. That commitment has to be there.
At the heart of the discussions is a vision to keep temperature rise to within 1.5 degrees Celsius. That was the goal set in Paris in 2015. In Sharm el-Sheikh, some countries are kicking against mentioning that figure.
There are very few countries, but a few, that have raised the issue of not mentioning this word or that word. But the fact is that in Glasgow, that was adopted. The language is there, and I know that President Shukri has no intention of being the president of a COP, and Egypt doesn't intend to be the country that hosts a retreat from what was achieved in Glasgow. So we will have those discussions during this week, but that is the adopted language of the UNFCCC, and most countries here have no intention of going backwards.
The gathering here in Egypt is the Together for Implementation COP. It is about action. For many here, it simply means an outcome that is good for man and planet. Ayola Kasim, Channels Television News.